around and represent my province. And
What do you think is the highlight you're looking forward to for today?
obviously getting the win, that's all that really matters. Just doesn't matter how grimy it is, how close of a game. Really just want to go out there and perform.
Amazing. Do you have someone you want to shout out to back home?
I'll shout out my parents. Hi, Mom.
Yeah. So what do you think about the vibe for today?
I think it's great. It's really hot, so the guys are like really thinking about that, and they're all suffering a little bit, but we're all here to have fun and play as hard as we can to win, right?
So what do you think the team needs to do to bring in that victory today?
Well, the thing about rugby, offense is important, but the most important thing is defense. So we really got to get off the line, make our hits hard and quick, for they don't make any ground, and just really be devastating on defense, where we could switch quickly over to offense.
Vibes are really high. It's super nice. The sun's out, so that means it's a good day for rugby.
All right, we're getting set for our second game here of day number 2 of the championships from Windsor, Nova Scotia. We've got some U19 women's action. We have Newfoundland Rock in the red taking on Nova Scotia U19 in the blue. Dan Hobson along for the call here in this one. Just a few changes here for Nova Scotia in their lineup. Pretty much almost the same as yesterday, with the exception of Alice Dewey in the lineup. So delighted to bring you the call here in this one. We're just underway here, as this is Brooke Alco, the former Horton Griffin, and Matt Malotson has joined us here. So Matt, first of all, I want to say that you're doing a fantastic job, and you're run off your feet here with the championships all over the place, making everything accommodating for everybody. So if somebody hasn't said thank you yet, so thank you.
Oh, thanks for that, man. Yeah, no, just making sure our referees are hydrated for the day. Everybody's stocked on ice and Gatorades and waters, and sit down and watch some rugby.
So as I said, Team Nova Scotia in the blue is Samantha Reed. Just past the 10-meter mark. U19, who had a very good game yesterday against the U18. It's off to a good start and cruised to a victory. And Newfoundland has a short turnaround as they played the evening game yesterday against a very tough New Brunswick team. Reed again.
Nice support around the ruck there. Sam Reed finding a way to add some value, popping up just off the scrum half shoulder.
Hilton, who had a strong game yesterday as well. Hilton off to the races. Can she get it down? Yes, she does, as Hilton gets her second try of the championships. Try 5 for Nova Scotia U19. Just barely around the 2-minute mark. And good quick start.
Yeah, that's great work by Nova Scotia. They find a way to make a little break in the midfield on that pop outside ball from scrum half to Sam, and then keep the pressure on. The best time to attack after that is right again. So Charlotte catches on the front foot, and eyes for the try line. It's a great run.
Yeah, put on the afterburners. Isabel Quinton just didn't have the jets there to try to bring down Hilton. Getting ready to set here for the conversion. Kate McDonald doing the kicking duties here today, at least for this one, and short of the mark, so it's 5-0, but
Kate McDonald
pretty quickly, yeah.
Yeah, versatile player. She's played the backs and the forwards. Still handles some kicking duties. She's got a lot of skills.
But you couldn't be, like, if you're a coach and staff, and of course also involved Rugby Nova Scotia, you must be pretty happy with that start there, with just coming out of the gates and go down and strike early.
I think this is a game that Nova Scotia are obviously expecting probably their result, so they're looking to go in and take care of their business tidily and rotate through their squad. Yeah, it's a great break by Fran.
Fran Aceron looks to try to go almost, and that was the second, pretty much the first best run of the day here in this one.
Yeah, she's done well to pop back to her feet. She released the ball and pop back to her feet and play it again. Got a little second effort out of that.
Hardy. She took that from her outside the 22, and here's Nova Scotia pressing again. Alco. And handing it off, and once again, Nova Scotia threatening here. Back out, Hilton. Outside, Ava Shearer will get it down for the try here for Nova Scotia. And just like that, before you even blink, they've got a 10-0 lead. We're just watching the replay there, and Matt Melanson is getting some autographs right now, so he'll be with us in just a couple of seconds there, as he's a very busy person here at the championship. So. And short of the mark there on the conversion there, so no time better than the press, because we've been asked to do some shout-outs. So
yeah, just as we we thanked our sponsors and hosts a few times, but just again, we're here at King's Edgehill, and the administration and staff, Joe Seagram, Marion Robbins, and Heather Strickey have been great. They've been very accommodating, getting everybody in where they need to go. These are huge operations, and thanks to all the support from King's Edgehill, the municipality and their support, and all our sponsors, Gary Parker Excavating, Molson, Party Ice, everything to keep a huge event like this rolling. So thanks very much.
There you go. So play back underway as we have the restart, and Nova Scotia once again with the ball. They'll kick it down the field, and now they'll try to chase down at Reed. Can she be the first there? And kicked into touch there.
Yeah, so that's a
by
great
Murphy.
Result, great result for Nova Scotia on that kick. A bit of chaos, a bit of mess, and the result is going to be a Nova Scotia throw into this lineout.
So Nova Scotia threatening again, and it's a tough start here for Newfoundland. All of a sudden, you say, like in a blink of an eye, they're down by double digits already, and Nova Scotia threatening. So this is,
yeah, I mean,
a 45-minute game. This is huge here to try to get a stop if they're going to make a game of this.
Yeah. Nice little set piece move.
Chisholm, way past the 22. Swung to the outside. Something going with Shearer again. Aceron getting close. And it's awarded. Another try here for Nova Scotia. Fran Aceron.
That was some smooth play through their forwards and backs, their double switches and hitting layers, and keeping their foot in the gas.
Well, you get to the outside there with Shearer and Aceron, and if you're like Newfoundland, it's like, well, who am I going to, because they know that Ava Shearer, a very solid player, very solid rugby player throughout her career, wherever she's played, even now on the provincial stage. And it's like, well, do I know that the ball's going to be going to her, but you also know that you have some double threats on the outside. And
yeah, I mean, there are two people that require probably a person and a half in defense. They both are somebody that when they have the ball, Ava or Fran, the next person in defense is taking a peek as well, making sure maybe they have to help. So if they're running hard and passing well between each other, it's going to be tough for two people to stop them.
15-0, but in terms of quick strikes here, like 3 tries, and they're getting right into that like almost bonus territory.
Yeah, I think
in this game, yeah,
they're looking to be tidy. I think they've set a goal for the game, and they're looking to work through everything efficiently and play to their own systems, and things are paying off for them.
So seeing some action of what has transpired early, and as you see, Newfoundland is on the defense pretty much early, and here's the Hilton try. So we got the reset back underway. Fielded cleanly there by Alice Dewey. Getting it up to the 10. And Elko. And quickly, Rain Kane. Rain Kane blowing by everybody. Rain Kane. Does she have enough? Oh, she'll hand it off to Naisha Provo, who will finish it. Rain Kane to Naisha Provo. And another try for Nova Scotia.
Yeah, Georgia is incredibly dynamic. It was a exciting line break there, nice interplay between the forwards to find a gap, and then very great rugby discipline to not just get blinders on, go for the try line. She keeps two hands on the ball, looking for support, knows that if she's about to get caught, then Ronasia's there for a pop, and Roro makes the catch and puts on the Jets and finishes. That's a great team try and a great bit of skill from a prop, which I always love to see.
And pretty much that was just 3 quick passes. Elko to Rain Kane, and then Nasia Provo with the finish. 1, 2, 3, try. Chip shot here for Hilton. We talked about her low line drives yesterday, right on cue.
Keep up her tactics of conserving all her energy, not kicking it any harder than she has to.
So first successful conversion for Nova Scotia, 22-0, and right around the 10-minute mark. So a good start for them, and for Newfoundland, it's that. As I said, it's you come out here and then just in a blink of an eye be a double-digit deficit already and into the 20s. Whew.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a tough start.
Yeah, I think the teams know they're here. You know, you're in a tournament. Everybody's got different goals, and I think this Nova Scotia Blue have plans and aspirations to compete for the gold medal, and this Newfoundland's a developing side, so sometimes that's how these games go. But look to get some positives for Newfoundland.
Another blow by here. This is Gallagher, who got a try in yesterday's game. Hilton again. Also on the board here today, Samantha Reed. Reed looking for support from Chason there along the sideline, and brought down there by Smith. Kate McDonald. There's some extra yardage there. A quick pass way high for Reed, but no big deal. She's gathered down as Nova Scotia threatening again.
And Sam is just getting through a pile of work. Fitness and conditioning is all at such a high level. She seems to be ready to carry every time.
McDonald just meters away from the try line for Nova Scotia. They'll swing it out. There's something brewing here. And another try for Nova Scotia. Hardy, I do believe.
I think you're right.
You just know that when you just get with this area of the pitch that it's really tough to defend. It's just, you think that, well, you've got short real estate, but you've got like 15 bodies. So it's like it could go anywhere. You can't stretch out the defense. It's just really tough. Tough to defend.
And it's generally the time where in the carries, people aren't looking to be as expansive. They're really putting their shoulders down and running hard for those last few meters. So it's a physical spot, and not the easiest territory to defend. In the middle of the field, you lose a meter or two. It's not nearly so consequential as when you lose one of the last 5 meters that you're trying to hold on to.
Hilton with the conversion. And well above the bar this time.
Yeah, she got it that time. It must have hurt us.
So 29-0, and as you said, it's a Newfoundland and a development and a medal possibility for Nova Scotia. So. Newfoundland would be tough. They've had some solid programs come out of Newfoundland. And one of the things that I think that has been a little bit hard, we had a thing. That's what we call it, a thing. It's COVID, right? And some of the programs have been a little bit slow for people to come back after it.
Yeah, if they require lots of travel, that's a tougher ask, of course.
Loveless looking for some help, and the
Abby
finish
Chisholm.
there, the Chisholm for the try. Yeah, we'll just finish up on your point. Like, the numbers have been going up. That must be really good being with Rugby Nova Scotia to see the numbers going up across your province, and hopefully it's doing the same for everywhere else, including our folks in Newfoundland, Labrador.
Yeah, I think they're doing some great work. I think the coaches and administrators they're putting together a solid program, and just about finding teams enough fixtures, and costs are what they are, and travel to get anywhere is difficult. So as teams keep growing, they're going to keep growing their funding and sponsorship, and to be able to get more fixtures and more exposure to the proper standard. But everybody's where they are in the race.
Hilton once again placing the ball between the two posts, which should be an easy chip shot.
Nope.
Well, there it is.
The old curse.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, okay, yep.
It should go back to just sneaking it over the bar.
Well, I just thought I'd set her up, and all of a sudden, boy, the platform ever collapsed on me in that one.
No good deed.
I know there's probably some people that say, well, maybe Dan should be quiet every once in a while.
That's not.
He seems to be that jinx. In my basketball days, I'd always go and say this buddy was a 88% free throw shooter from the line. You be it.
Unimaginable to miss this free throw.
And what would you think would happen?
Yeah.
Yes. And I'll never learn. Sam Reed. As once again, Nova Scotia pressure. Nisha Provo with the swing over to Gallagher.
Yeah, and for this Nova Scotia team, looks like many players are comfortable to step in and play that first receiver role. So Charlotte's a bit out of position there, and Rowan's happy to step in. A lot of these players would play B10 on their.
Hilton boots it by everybody, so it's now kicked down the field. First picked up there by Banks. It hasn't been a lot of possession here for Newfoundland, but this will be their first real prolonged possession, and it comes near the 17-minute mark. So this is what gets a little bit hard, is like they've sort of been defending, so now they've got to turn the offensive jets on, but they're having sustained pressure, so they're keeping the ball, so that's good.
Yeah, a little bit of ill discipline from Nova Scotia at the breakdown. Going to lead to some relief for Newfoundland.
Ava Banks. That's going to be Chater that will put it into touch for a line out.
Maybe our first line out of the game here.
That's very interesting, yes.
Just with the ball staying in the middle of the field, and I guess they had one off the kick for Nova Scotia. Maybe Newfoundland's first.
That's the thing. It's like when you have a tournament like this and you call so many games, everything just sort of blends in after a while. It's just like it's like, did that happen from? You'd be talking about something that's happened at this game, and it's like, no, that was yesterday, Dan. So this seems to happen. I know this is not our first scrum. We can take the
Coach!
bet on that one.
Yeah.
Bind!
Downfield level, let's listen in on the conversation with the referees having.
Set! Back up. Back up. We gotta hold our bind there, girls. Let's go.
line. Set.
That's Anthony Scott in the middle from Prince Edward Island. Mentioned slightly the new split in format this year. It's our first time splitting the tournament ages. Well, I guess since back in the day when all there was a senior and a U20 back many years ago. So sort of a return to that format. It's allowed us to really sort of ask all the unions to send some highly rated referees, and they're taking their review work very seriously, and the teams are working really hard this weekend. So thanks to all our referees that are here helping the tournament.
McDonald, can she get it down? Yes, she does. Yeah, I just want to follow up on that. We're just having a chance to hear. We want to appreciate and thank the referees for putting on the mic that allows us to get field level. No other sport can really do that besides rugby. So we appreciate all the referees being cooperative and understanding and all right with basically allowing us to mic them up. So it's a much appreciated to them. We want to send that shout out to.
Yeah, and it will help them in their review. I mean, so much of what you're doing when you're refereeing is the conversations you're having, so they're able to watch back with their audio. So it's helpful for everybody.
Going to be a little bit of a harder shot here for Hilton.
Flags aren't doing anything consistent. A little bit back in her face, it seems, from the flag over to her side.
Well, that's it. It's like all of a sudden.
There you go.
Right.
Flags are up.
Yeah, so it's whatever adjustments she made from the last one. But and the thing is that you don't get a chance to really, practice what you wrote on the pitch, right? You're not like a place kicker in football. You don't get a chance to, kick into a net. So there's no real adjustment. So that's you think of that aspect.
And that's the tricky thing with kickers. Yeah, you're asked. And it's the same thing with a free throw shooter. You can stand in the gym and shoot 100, but you don't get to shoot 100 in a row in a game. You're tired. You've been running around, and you've got to hit this one. So. Yeah, we'll do things at practice, like stop the practice all of a sudden and ask our kicker to step up and hit a kick, apropos of nothing, just to get used to you're running around and now you've got to switch into that mindset.
Reset. Hardy, who's got a try here in this one for U19 Nova Scotia, as you see, up 41-0 and into the late stages of this first half. Brooke Alco. I imagine she must be some relation to the assistant coach of the Acadia Axeman, Mike Alco.
Yes, that's his Mike's daughter.
I still got it. Back out. Chisholm is also on the board here. Bounce pass to Reed. Hilton brought down. Reed once again on the drive, being dragged by the shirt there by O'Brien from Newfoundland. Swung back into the middle. Sorry, Hardy.
Heads up from Sam Reed, supported Charlotte. There was nobody there in the ruck, so she just picked the ball up and went straight through the middle, and keeps that pressure on. You can tell it's very really a focus for Team Blue.
Chisholm back outside, keeping, gets it down for the try.
And that's also good rugby when you're starting to exert pressure down one sideline. They know that as the defense contracts to that, you can usually get some real estate if you swing it out wide.
As they take a look at it, their passing has been exceptional in this game.
Yeah, the player catching it doesn't have to make too many adjustments to catch it. They don't have to slow down. The catch can be automatic, and then they can start to worry about what the next thing they want to do with it is. That's a hard team to defend when they're putting passes on the money like that.
Now this one's going to be hard here for Hilton from pretty much that sideline on the far side, and you talked about wind on one of the last kicks.
Yeah, it looks like the flags are bending a little bit back.
But it's a trick, because as soon as I was about ready to say wind, it looked like it was blowing. Now it looks like it's like coming right at her too.
Swirling around.
It's not. It's not a win where all of a sudden you're judging it and then seconds later it changes. So stay at 46-0. It looks to be that's how the first half will come to an end, and what a tough one there for Newfoundland.
Yeah, I hope they keep their heads up and come back and find some positives in the second half, get a little bit more time on the ball, and look to attack here in the second half.
Now, what do you do for Team Nova Scotia? You got the lead, but you know it's a tournament. You want to make sure everybody's fresh, and injury-wise, so we could see a lot of substitutions here in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to, put my foot in my mouth, but I would expect them to rotate the squad, and it seems like they have a little bit from the start already, some new combinations that we didn't see yesterday. But yeah, I expect the rest of the bench to come in and take advantage of the fact that you can maybe get some people off their feet early here.
So we're going to take a break, but in the meantime, you can catch out some of the highlights from the first half, in a first half dominated by Nova Scotia, up by 46. You're watching the 2025 U19 Senior Atlantic Rugby Championships here on Maritime Athletic Profiles. All right, second half just set to get underway here between the Nova Scotia U19 and the U19 from Newfoundland, Labrador. Dan Hobson, Matt Melanson, the rest of the Maritime Athletic Profiles crew here in Windsor, Nova Scotia on the grounds of Kings Edge Hill High School, home of the two-time back-to-back provincial champion in the ladies rugby, as this kick does not go the necessary 10 meters, so most likely will be a scrum set up. And just on cue it is, so. Temperatures right around about 20 degrees, definitely a lot. Not as humid as it was yesterday. Still the possibility of maybe some showers. It's about a 30% chance throughout the day and the evening. Scrum not done right. But let's send it down to field level for some sights and sounds again.
Crouch. Bind. Set. Hands on the ground.
Newfoundland penalized Ted, and just like that, Hilton back outside. Gallagher looking for the pass. Asarai with a good run here. Hilton near her, near the 22. Hardy. She has been tough to bring down here in this one. Advantage here for Nova Scotia. They got the numbers to the outside. Bouncing pass. Hilton gathers it up, scoops it pretty much off the turf. A quick handoff, pretty much pass right inside, right up into the bread basket. And again, Nova Scotia knocking on the door. Chisholm, Kate McDonald, and McDonald will get it down for the try. The outside, it seems, where the Nova Scotia has been making their money in this one as we look at the replay of that try. And Newfoundland calling for Katie to come out onto the field. The scream is that's just outside of the near side post, so we'll stay 51-0. So you see that definitely what we talked about before the break, there has been some substitutions here for Nova Scotia U19. Newfoundland Labrador, really hard. They have not had a lot of ball possession. They had one possession in that first half, like sort of right around the 12 or 13 minute mark, if I do stand correct on that, but it's looking here just to try to get something to go. Was a comment here from this possession this time. The bouncing ball a little bit difficult to handle there for Murphy for U19. So scrum to come, of course, on the knock on. You had a feeling that it was going to be a tough test for Newfoundland with that short turnaround, because they played in the evening game yesterday. Once again, we'll send it to field level and get you some up-close action.
Crouch. Bind. Set.
Swing out here. Ball. Newfoundland may have something cooking here. His Banks. She stopped in the middle. Swung outside. Sherman. Stolen by Nova Scotia near the midfield mark. Picked up by Mason on the handoff. Released by Nova Scotia. And they'll start the hot potato pass it right in towards the middle near the midfield stripe. A quick pass it and off goes Nova Scotia. Stop just inside the 10. Reed again, right along that sideline. Heisler, just short of the 22. Hilton, Loveless. And a rare penalty. I was going to say against Nova Scotia, but it seems to be against Newfoundland, so a quick one. More sponsors to thank, Molson Canada and the Spitfire Arms Pub. Kate McDonald to throw in here for Nova Scotia. One of the things that Matt was talking about, not a lot in terms of lineouts here in this one. Hot potato pass, Gallagher. Hilton with the return pass. Swung outside, Loveless. Abby Chisholm up there looking for the loose ball. Nova Scotia release. Scooped up by Loveless. And they're just slowly doing like a little attacks, not big sprints here, but just using a good solid grade to gain as much as they can. And Hardy at it for Nova Scotia. Back outside, Gallagher. Numbers keeping just shy. But straight to the outside. Pass was behind Heisler. You got a lot of weapons here, like for Nova Scotia, because they've got some speed. They've got speed to the outside, but they've also got a really good small game, making like big yardage on small plays, having a little bit of a size advantage that helps too.
Yeah, I think they're well conditioned. These are all players that will be coming off of U Sport seasons where they're, lifting weights all year round, and this Nova Scotia team of strictly U19s being one of the only teams, I could say, constructed that way. Yeah, the strength and conditioning of players 1 through 24 or 5 will be pretty solid. Too early on the push there, says Anthony.
Ava Banks. Quinton tried to kick it out. It's actually going the other way.
Rowan was able to regather that sort of missed kick and touch it down.
That's one of the things that you're trying to relieve the pressure, but sometimes there's not enough real estate to do this, and it was just a shake kick. So do you see what pressure can do?
Yeah, I mean when you're on the team expecting to kick and it doesn't go. I mean everybody's expecting to chase one way. It's hard to turn around and cover if it's blocked or miss hit at all.
And the solid heads just like didn't quite have a lot of real estate to get it down for the try, but did get it.
Yeah, Rowan's spectacularly athletic, so yeah, to run and chase and be able to grab it and put it down before running out of real estate at the end.
I see. You didn't say anything that time.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Not trying to get in trouble at the family reunions.
That's right. Yeah, and I didn't say anything either, so 58-0. You were telling me, like, off the air, you were, like, involved in basketball, then got into rugby.
Yeah, that was the first game. I was, for our listeners at home, I'm a towering 5'9", and I was that at a young age, so I thought I'll certainly go to the NBA. And then, I found, played a bit of football in high school and found rugby as well, and appreciated that in rugby the larger players were still encouraged and allowed to handle the ball and make passes, so I found a little bit of basketball in that fit my bill a little bit more. But Sosa's got pretty elite athleticism as well to carve off a big chunk of yardage there.
McDonald. And this will be spurned, so everybody's getting in on the act here for Nova Scotia. Another try.
Yeah. But yeah, we've always found, I think there's sort of a kind of rugby coach that seeks out soccer players. It sounds like it makes sense. It's a similar big size field. There's kicking involved. But I've always been partial to basketball players because I find they can catch and pass in traffic. They've got some sense that when you catch it, you've got to do something else again quickly. I think sometimes
some footwork. The footwork that you bring to basketball, you can bring to rugby.
Yeah, and that idea that maybe I'm running one way, I've got my hands out, and I've got to do something sort of creative and fit it through a gap. They've got a great ability to change the trajectories on their passes and put the spin on if they need it or not if they don't. Sometimes, obviously, football makes a great crossover for all the contact aspects, but generally when you catch a football, that's over. It's never coming back out of your hand. So the idea that somebody might catch it and make a nice quick touch pass, I've always been able to find that in basketball players. And I think coaches bring that. If they speak a common language from another sport with another player, they'll be able to ease that transition.
Kate McDonald with the conversion. Make it 65-0. And one of the stories that I've been getting so far here at the championships is a lot of these, like on the U19, on the women's side of things, that they are sort of getting into the sport like in high school. It's not something that they, grew up at a grassroots, even though now there's a lot of rugby programs that are trying to get, kids started at a younger age, like right around 5 and 6.
Yeah, it's growing. I mean, my daughter is 4 and she's doing her 3rd summer of rugby right now. But generally still, high school. And it's still very welcoming to crossover athletes. I think it's easy enough to grasp that if you pick it up in high school and you are on the basketball or soccer team, you'll probably do just fine. That was a great grab by Amelia Mason. And, I think it's, for the last few years been a good spot for people who, fall out of love with their first sport, or they stop making the representative level teams that they want to make in another sport. And but we are certainly, just last week we had 280, 300 kids here at King's Edgehill for under 14 and under 16, and down to under 12 and 10 they play flag. So you can start playing contact now around 12 or 13 if you'd like. But I think and hope rugby is always going to be contact sports in general. Tend to always keep the door open for late entry because the athletes that take to the contact, it makes up so much of the pie.
I'm sure that for a lot of the athletes that we're seeing here this weekend, somebody has been really instrumental in getting them to this or getting them into their rugby career, and now with you being an exec with Nova Scotia Rugby Nova Scotia, who was sort of helped you, make that step, the transition from the basketball to the rugby?
Well, the head coach at Charles P. Allen High School when I first started was a guy named Pat Connors, who was, I think now I can see sort of the same way that all these coaches here are. He was involved with the club, he was involved in the school rugby, and got lots of people. Everybody he met, he tried to get them to play rugby, and Pat Connors and Brad Boudreau at Charles P. Allen were huge to get me to at least try for the school, and then. Next step is to get everybody out into the club, and then once you get to the club and find your people, people are generally hooked forever. But I mean, the coaches of the oldest Nova Scotia teams, I guess the oldest Nova Scotia underage teams we have, under 19 and under 18, Lisa McGrath and Janice Kugel and Mandy Wells. They do that with their clubs and schools, and lots of these players come through those systems.
Nova Scotia awarded with another try.
And the hard thing about days like today is when the team is skilled top to bottom, when you start to bring the bench in, there's people that have been sitting there wanting to play, and they're still going to.
You're making it hard on the coach. Who we're going to put for the 15? And
they want to take their chance and score their tries when they get out there, and they're playing against the people that have been playing all game. But it's great body position by Amelia to pick that up low. No chance for anybody to get under her, and all she could do was drive forward and fall down and score.
Want to come back to, we were brought up a name, Coach Boudreau. He's heavily involved with the capital region of SSNS Rugby there in the HRM area, doing a lot of work scheduling, pretty much one of the main contacts. So he's still involved heavily. So
yeah, Brad, it was. He was just Pat was near his last year teaching was my grade 12 year, I believe, or right around there, and Brad was 16, 17 years younger at that point and was just starting, but saw that the Pat Connors had built a pretty strong rugby legacy and wanted to carry it on. So Brad's done a lot of the legwork both at that school for both the men's and women's programs and with the league, running the scheduling and running all the league meetings, and certainly in Halifax, the high school league would be in a rough spot without everything Brad Boudreau does.
Hey, what's great about the high school league is that it's not like any dynasty anymore in the sport. It's everybody's pretty much got a chance.
The games at provincials are generally tight. I mean, the next hurdle to find is to figure out a way to get more of those games, because here goes a Sosa.
Yeah, it just goes down. And
just looking over her shoulder, seeing where the defender was.
One of those turf monsters.
Yeah, trying to get the high-level games that you get in the last week of the season that have been so competitive. You'd love to get a few more of those, but happy that the league is strong and the standard is really high.
Keeping just inches shy. Nova Scotia threatening again, pass low, but Hardy!
Short, says Anthony.
Well, they get it down that time. Is Mason.
Amelia sneaks in for a second one.
I'm sure if you look at the analytics, when you get that close to the try line, it's the chances of scoring is pretty high, and it just seemed to come into fruition once again.
Yeah, you need to be quite ready and aggressive in defense. You need a big collision probably to drive people back, to get them out of rhythm. If they're able to keep picking in rhythm with their support, they are certainly hard to stop when they can just pick the ball up and put their shoulders down.
Why, that was down Main Street, not an easy chip shot there for Hilton.
Yeah, kind of on your unfavored side as a right-footed kicker. Accounted for that.
77-0 here in the late stages.
2 minutes left, says Anthony.
So you're at a championship, you're Team Newfoundland, and you just pretty much want to just like erase the tape of this one.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you're at a different spot in your journey, and you don't worry about the numbers, and you keep everybody try and keep everybody's spirits high, and you win the games that you're going to hope to win.
Well, sometimes what happens is everybody focuses on the numbers and then loses in the process. It doesn't.
Yeah, I think, everybody, with a bit of thinking, everybody can understand that obviously, there's lots of factors in what goes into a result, and what a good day for you is can be different based on the competition.
Well, it's a philosophy is that when you go trying to hit a home run, all you're going to do is pop up or ground out, type thing, and use that mentality. But if you trust the structure, the knowledge to do it, the wins will come as you progress.
Yeah, and it's a long journey, and if ultimately winning was the only thing that was satisfying, people wouldn't keep playing the game because most people don't win enough. Everybody wins about half the time, so. Interesting rugby story I always go back to was a team was watching another game that was going to determine the result of their standing in the tournament. It was Team Ireland in the Six Nations, and they don't have playoffs, so it was just points and plus minus was going to matter.
Yeah.
And they were watching a team go for a penalty kick, and they thought, if they make this kick, we'll lose on points difference, and if they miss, we'll win. And how silly is that? It's that didn't change how well we played. It doesn't change anything about what we've done if somebody else makes a kick or not. So, really that idea that you're just putting your own name on a day's work. You're going to play the game to the best of your ability. You're working on the things you're working on, and at the end of the day, you just try and be happy with the work you put in.
Pile being pushed, and Nova Scotia is just pushing Newfoundland back. And they're going to get it down for another try. And also, too, a type of game like this, you don't also want, if you're Nova Scotia, to get into some bad habits that you want to carry away.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, let's say everybody's running their own race. If there's things that you can do in this game as Nova Scotia that won't help you later in the tournament, you want to stay away from those habits, and I think they have by and large. So.
So we could be looking potentially here at the final play.
Yeah, I think 2 minutes left from that opening kickoff. We're probably around there, and Anthony turns to the middle.
And there it is, the final 3 blows of the whistle. Nova Scotia coming away with a victory. They just got off to that quick start, and they just never looked back.
Yeah, I think that's a tidy day at the office. They've rotated their squad through. They've got lots of different players, and hopefully everybody keeps their head up. And just not enough ball possession for Newfoundland to get much going. I mean, when they had it, they showed again all the skills that they're working on and the speed of their passing, but just didn't hang on to the ball enough to really get anything going today. So
we're going to step aside just for a little bit. And we'll be back with Ava Shearer. And to wrap up this game, it was all Nova Scotia here in this one, shutting out Newfoundland. Back in just a couple of moments here on Maritime Athletic Profiles. All right, Nova Scotia with a big win over Newfoundland. Here's Ava Shearer. We were just talking off camera. This field looks pretty familiar because she's a former member of King's Edge Hill. So what's it like playing here this weekend?
It's a really good opportunity to come back to the school I graduated from after being at university for a year. It feels really comfortable and like I'm at home.
You guys got off to a really quick start, and it just seemed, we're cooking with gas in this one. What was the key to having such a dominating performance today?
We were really trying to work on our systems today and keeping composed. Even when we were winning, just trying to run our systems and keep getting it out wide.
Now, this was a total team effort. Pretty much everybody throughout the lineup really contributed, so you'd be pretty happy with how well the team played. So what's some of the goals here at the championship, besides winning a championship? What are some of the things you guys would like to work on getting ready for that possible championship game?
Definitely winning, and then, like I said before, working on our systems a lot, keeping everything composed and really working as a team.
Yep. So, of course, as I said, you were here at King's Edge Hill. You won 2 provincial championships under Rory Campbell. So far, I guess, what's the biggest rugby highlight for you in your playing career?
I have quite a few. I love playing with a team. This team, we've been together for the last 3 years. We won last year and the year before, so I think just being a part of this team is a big deal for me.
Future goals in the sport?
I play hockey at St. Mary's, but I want to keep playing rugby for fun. Hopefully go to the Nationals this summer.
Okay, yeah, your brother also plays hockey.
He does.
Yeah, so it's like every once in a while, do you say, hey, I got 4 points in this game. What did you get?
Yeah, we are definitely competitive at home.
Yeah, well, it was great to meet you. I've heard all about you, so it's like best of luck in the championships.
Thank you very much.
Ava Shearer from Team Nova Scotia. Big win over Newfoundland, so that will wrap up our coverage here for now. So for the entire crew behind the cameras, as well as Dylan, who's directing, my name is Dan Hobson. Thank you for tuning in, and so long from Windsor.